that day in and day out until some governor in some other state understands that you got to put those principles in place, and you come knock Texas off of that perch. I go to California on a pretty regular basis, and I can promise you the governor of California today is tired of seeing my mug in California, because Arnold knows I'm coming out there to recruit businesses to bring back to the state of Texas. I want that type of competition all across this country, though. I think that's what I will suggest to you, that governors that have that type of principles, and let me share with you, I said those were simple principles, and they really are. That's a pretty small Economics 101 book. But there's a hard part about that. And the hard part about that is finding men and women who have the courage to implement those principles. That's what we've been blessed about in the state of Texas, is that today we have men and women who understand, and we've proven that if you will have the courage to implement those principles, your state will flourish. Your state can grow. And look, I don't stand up in front of people and tell them that we don't have our challenges. We do. You cannot be the #1 exporting state in the nation. You can't have the type of economy that we have that's international in scope and not be impacted by this economic crisis that we face today. It is an all-consuming one. You bet you we've been impacted. But if there is a place in the country that will help lead America out of this recession, it is Texas. And it's those principles that we put into place. And that's the reason I challenge governors all across this country. If you believe in this country, if you believe in the principles of the free market and capitalism, put those principles in place and help lead America back to the principles of promise that we made to the people. We can be preeminent in the world again. But it's going to take principled leadership. It's going to take men and women going to Washington, D.C. and saying no. I said, I hope there are a host of men and women that will stand up and run for office in 2010, and those are incredibly important elections. And one of the things that they say is, elect me and I'm going to go to Washington, D.C. and try to make it as inconsequential in your life as I can make it. I'm thinking that might be a good message. It takes principled leadership. Don't tell me you're a Republican and then go spend all the money. Don't tell me you're a Republican and not protect the innocent. Don't tell me you're a Republican and you work against the job creators in this country. We've got a lot of work to do. You know, one of the things, what is it that we could do? I mean, if you were given a wand and said you've got one wish to put upon this country to change America today, what would it be? I'll tell you what mine would be. It would be to pass a constitutional amendment to the U.S. Constitution that requires a balanced budget. There is nothing more powerful to this country than to say to those in Washington, D.C., this is how much money we have, and this is all that you can spend. That's what needs to happen in this country. People are starting to wake up. Thank God. We have come out of that fog. You know, we hadn't landed yet, but we see the airport down there. The work that you all are going to do, and this 2010 election cycle is so powerful. Let me tell you, there has never been an election that is more important to us as a people than 2010. Electing men and women that are going to go to Washington, D.C. and to say no to this administration. Men and women who are going to be principled followers of those simple principles that I have laid out that basically say Americans just want you to keep our tax structure low, our regulatory climate fair and balanced, a legal system that doesn't allow for oversuing. And as a matter of fact, those things need to happen in the states. Let the states compete against each other. And if there's some governor in a legislature somewhere that, they just think it's important to raise their taxes high. They think they need to have a regulatory climate that is very burdensome, and you need to help the trial lawyers be able to just sue at every whim, and let the public schools kind of run hither and. I shouldn't talk about California that way on a regular basis, but you ought to be called out when those things happen. You need to be called out day in and day out. And let me tell you, people do it because they vote with their feet. People are moving out of those states that are high taxes. Let me tell you, you go see what Detroit, Michigan looks like today. They're moving out of those states and they're moving to states where they find an environment that allows them to be free. And that's what 2010 is really about. It's about freedom, it's about liberty, and it's about men and women that will go to Washington, D.C. and to tell Washington, no, we are no longer going to take the freedoms away, no longer take the liberties away from the people, and get back to the Constitution. Have a strong stand on Republican principles. The momentum is building. Ralph, if you had told me a year ago that we would see this powerful resurgence. Let me tell you, in January of 2009, I had my head under my wing. I was feeling under the weather. Politically, I thought we were in deep, deep trouble. And something really interesting happened. On April the 15th, tea parties all across this country, men and women standing up and saying, read the Constitution. And I want to say thank you to every one of you that went to a tea party, that engaged in a tea party, that were involved in it, because you are bringing back America to its rightful place of people who understand what the Constitution is all about. That is what this election is about. God bless you, and through you may God continue to bless this great country that we live in. Thank you very much.